Commander Alice Bennett stood at the observation deck of Earth Defense Force Station Delta, her blue eyes fixed on the holographic display showing the research station, Horizon orbiting Jupiter. The station had been humanity's pride for the past 5 years, hosting scientists from every nation on Earth. Today was supposed to be special. They had detected an alien signal approaching the solar system. "Commander, the unknown vessels are decelerating," Lieutenant Paul Davis reported from his station. "They'll be within visual range of Horizon in 10 minutes. Alice nodded, trying to keep her excitement in check. Humanity had waited centuries for this moment. First contact. Real aliens. Not the microbes they'd found on Mars or the fossil traces beneath Europa's ice. Actually intelligent life from beyond the solar system. "All stations, maintain alert status," she ordered. "Remember our first contact protocols. No aggressive moves, no weapons targeting. We're here to make friends." The entire command center fell silent as the alien ships appeared on their long-range cameras. They were beautiful in a strange way. Curved purple hulls that seemed to shimmer like oil on water, decorated with intricate patterns that might have been art or writing. 7 ships, Paul counted. The largest one is about twice the size of our biggest cruiser. Alice watched as the aliens approached Horizon. The research station's 200 scientists and support staff had spent months practicing for this moment. They had prepared greeting messages in every human language, mathematical sequences to demonstrate intelligence, and simple pictograms showing peace and friendship. The first sign that something was wrong came when the alien ships suddenly changed formation. "Commander," Paul's voice cracked with alarm. "They're powering up some kind of energy weapons." Before Alice could even open her mouth to respond, a beam of sickly green light lanced out from the largest alien vessel. It struck Horizon dead center. The research station, humanity's proudest achievement in space, simply disappeared. Not an explosion, not a dramatic burst of debris. It was their one moment, and the next there was nothing but empty space where 200 innocent people had been. Alice felt her stomach turn to ice. "Sound general quarters. Get me Admiral Nash." The command center erupted into controlled chaos as warning klaxons blared. On the main screen, a communication window opened, showing the stern face of Admiral Robert Nash at Earth Fleet Command. "Commander Bennett, report." "Sir, the alien vessels they just destroyed Horizon. No warning, no attempt at communication. They just erased it from existence." The Admiral's face hardened. "Understood. All Earth Defense Force units are to fall back to." He never finished the sentence. The main screen suddenly filled with a new image. An alien face. It had purple-gray skin, 4 pairs of eyes arranged in a diamond pattern, and what looked like tendrils instead of hair. When it spoke, its words were somehow translated into English, though the translation was rough and mechanical. "Humans of Sol System. We are the Zarkax Imperium. Your existence has been noted. Your technology level has been assessed. You will submit to integration into our empire, or you will face extinction. You have 1 planetary rotation to signal your surrender. Resistance is." The alien seemed to smile, showing teeth like polished obsidian. "Inadvisable." The transmission cut off. Alice looked at her crew, seeing the same mix of fear and anger on every face. 200 people. Just gone. Like they never existed. "Admiral," she said, her voice steady despite her racing heart, "please tell me the Dreadnought initiative is ready." Nash's image returned to the screen. His expression was grim but determined. "It is. And God help me, I never thought we'd need it. Commander Bennett, you're to evacuate Station Delta immediately. Get your people to Luna Base. The Zarkax don't know about our underground facilities there." "Sir, what about Earth? They could strike at any moment." The Admiral's lips curved in a slight smile that held no humor. "Don't worry about Earth, Commander. We've been preparing for something like this for 50 years. Those arrogant purple bastards think they know our technology level. They have no idea what humanity is capable of. As Alice organized her station's evacuation, she couldn't help but remember the rumors she'd heard about massive ships being built in secret. Ships that dwarfed anything humanity officially admitted to having. Ships that could supposedly tear apart small moons. She had always thought those stories were just wild speculation. Now, watching her crew rush to the escape pods while keeping one eye on the alien fleet, she prayed those rumors were true. The evacuation took less than 30 minutes. They had drilled for this countless times, though everyone had assumed they'd be practicing for natural disasters, not alien invasion. As Alice stepped into the last pod with Paul, she took one final look at her command center's main screen. The Zarkak ships had taken up positions around Jupiter, probably preparing to use its satellites for resources. They seemed completely unconcerned about any possible human retaliation. Their arrogance was infuriating, but maybe, just maybe, it would prove to be their undoing. "Commander," Paul said softly as their pod launched, "what do you think our chances are?" Alice thought about the few hints she'd seen over the years. The massive power draws from asteroids that officially didn't have any human presence. The specialized training programs that pulled in the best pilots and engineers, who then seemed to disappear from regular service. The huge budget allocations that were labeled simply as Sol System Defense Initiative. "Better than they think," she finally answered. "Much better." Their pod rocketed toward Luna Base, joining dozens of others in a carefully planned evacuation pattern. As they flew, Alice's tablet lit up with encrypted messages being broadcast on all military channels. The words made her smile grimly. "Solar Midnight Protocol activated. All named personnel report to designated stations. Authorization Omega-7. This is not a drill." The Zarkaks thought they had humanity figured out. They thought they were dealing with a primitive species that had barely reached its own solar system's largest planet. They were about to learn just how wrong they were. And somewhere in the vast spaces between worlds, in facilities whose very existence was classified beyond top secret, humanity's real fleet was waking up. Ships that had been built not for exploration or science, but for war. Ships that had been designed and constructed in secret by paranoid military planners who had insisted that humanity needed to be ready for exactly this kind of situation. Dreadnoughts. The word whispered through Alice's mind as her pod approached the hidden entrances to Luna Base. Humanity had hoped for peace among the stars, but they had prepared for war. Now those preparations were about to be put to the test. The Zarkaks had given Earth 1 day to surrender. They were about to have the longest day of their lives. Chief Engineer Peter Morris walked through the massive underground hangar of Sol's Anvil, his footsteps echoing in the cavernous space. Above him, stretching for what seemed like forever, was humanity's answer to the Zarkaks' threat, the U.S. Nemesis, first of the Dreadnought-class warships. "How are the neural link tests coming along?" he asked Lieutenant Sandra Kelly, who was checking readings on a tablet larger than most dinner plates. "Better than expected," she replied, brushing her red hair away from her face. "The crews are adapting to the system faster than our models predicted. It's like they were born for this." Peter nodded, looking up at the enormous ship. 5 kilometers of armored hull, energy weapons that could crack moons, and engines that could bend space itself. The Nemesis wasn't just a warship, it was humanity's ultimate insurance policy. "Time to final activation?" he asked, already knowing the answer but needing to hear it again. 4 hours, Sandra said. "Admiral Nash wants all 5 dreadnoughts ready before the Zarkak's deadline expires." They walked together toward the Neural Link Training Center, where the chosen crews were preparing for their first real connection to their ships. The center looked like a cross between a hospital and a spacecraft simulator, with 20 pods arranged in a circle. Inside each pod lay a crew member, their minds slowly learning to become one with their assigned stations aboard the massive ships. It had taken years to develop the technology, and even longer to find people whose brains could handle the neural interface without breaking. "How are they doing?" Peter asked Dr. Alan Parker, the chief medical officer overseeing the neural link process. "See for yourself," Alan said, pointing to one of the monitoring screens. On the display, Peter could see the brain patterns of the 20 crew members slowly synchronizing. It was beautiful, in a way, 20 minds learning to work as one, each person becoming part of something much larger than themselves. "Chief," a young technician called out, "the Admiral is asking for you in the command center." Peter hurried through the underground complex's corridors, eventually reaching a room filled with screens and holographic displays. Admiral Nash stood in the center, looking at a real-time image of the Zarkax fleet. "They're getting impatient," Nash said without turning around. "They've started destroying some of our automated mining facilities near Jupiter, trying to show us what will happen if we don't surrender." "The Nemesis will be ready in 4 hours," Peter reported. "The other 4 Dreadnoughts shortly after that." "Good." Nash finally turned to face him. "Because I'm done watching them destroy what we built. How long until we can show them what a real warship looks like?" Peter checked his tablet. "The neural link crews are at 89% synchronization. Better than we hoped for. These ships, sir, they're not just weapons. When the crews link with them, they become something new, something that's never existed before." On the main screen, they watched as another mining platform disappeared under Zarkax weapons fire. The aliens seemed to be enjoying themselves, taking their time to destroy human property piece by piece. "They think they're being merciful," Nash growled, "giving us time to come to our senses and surrender. They have no idea what's waiting for them." Sandra entered the command center, her tablet displaying the latest neural link readings. "Sir, we have our first full synchronization. The Nemesis crew, they've done it." Peter rushed to look at her data. The numbers were beautiful, perfect neural synchronization across all 20 crew positions. The ship and its crew were becoming one entity. "Show me," Nash ordered. They hurried to the observation level overlooking the Nemesis. Through the reinforced windows, they could see the massive ship beginning to pulse with inner light. As the neural link activated fully for the first time, lines of energy ran along the ship's hull like glowing veins. "This is Nemesis Actual," a voice spoke through the command center speakers. It was strange. It sounded like 20 voices speaking as one. "All systems online. Neural synchronization at 100%. We are combat ready." Peter felt goosebumps rise on his arms. He had helped design this technology, had spent years working on it, but hearing it actually work, it was something else entirely. "The other crews are following suit," Sandra reported excitedly. U.S. Valkyrie is at 95% synchronization, U.S. Hyperion at 92%, U.S. Thunder and U.S. Liberty both passing 90%. Admiral Nash smiled for the first time since the Zarkax had appeared. "Send word to all stations. Operation Midnight Sun is now active. Begin power-up sequences for all Dreadnoughts." The next 3 hours were a blur of activity. Peter moved from ship to ship, checking systems, confirming readings, making sure everything was perfect. These ships would only get one chance to surprise the Zarkax. They had to work perfectly. Finally, standing in the Nemesis's enormous bridge, Peter watched as the neural-linked crew worked at their stations. They moved with eerie synchronization, each person knowing exactly what the others were doing without saying a word. "All Dreadnoughts report ready." Sandra's voice came through his earpiece. "Neural link systems are stable across all ships." "Very good," Nash's voice replied. "Begin opening the Anvil's doors. It's time to show the Zarkax what humanity can really do." Far above them, hidden beneath the lunar surface, massive doors began to slide apart. They opened onto a launch tunnel that would take the Dreadnoughts straight from their underground base into space. "Nemesis Actual, you have permission to launch," Nash ordered. "Show them what you can do." The huge ship began to move, its engines humming with power that made the whole facility vibrate. Peter watched from the bridge as the Nemesis rose through the launch tunnel, followed by its 4 sisters. 5 ships, each one 5 kilometers long. each one crewed by 20 minds working as one, each one carrying enough firepower to reduce a small planet to atoms. The Zarkax had given humanity 1 day to surrender. That day was almost over, and humanity's answer was about to rise from behind the moon like 5 new suns, ready to show the aliens exactly how wrong they had been about Earth's capabilities. All ships, form up on Nemesis, Nash ordered. Battle Formation Alpha. Let's go introduce ourselves to our new friends. Peter looked one last time at the neural link readings. They were perfect. The ships and their crews were ready. Now it was time to see if all their years of preparation would pay off. The war for humanity's survival was about to begin. Captain Christopher Wright stood at the command center of New Eden Colony, watching as thousands of civilians rushed to the underground shelters. The colony's warning sirens filled the air with their deep, constant wail. "How long until they get here?" he asked his sensor operator. 30 minutes, sir," replied Officer Amy Foster, her eyes fixed on the screens. 3 Zarkax warships, heading straight for us. They're not even trying to hide their approach. Chris clenched his fists. New Eden was humanity's largest off-world colony, with over 50,000 people living under its massive domes on a terraformed Mars. These people were his responsibility, and he wouldn't let them down. "Status of the evacuation?" he asked, turning to his second-in-command. 60% of civilians are in the shelters," Lieutenant Greg Powell reported. "The rest are on their way. Emergency ships are ready if we need them, but," he hesitated, "there's no way we can evacuate everyone before the Zarkax arrive." Back on Earth, Dr. Linda Martinez was working frantically in her lab at Luna Base. Screens surrounded her, showing data from the recent Zarkax attacks. Their ship's shield technology was unlike anything humanity had seen before, but every technology had a weakness. She just had to find it. "Doctor," her assistant Kevin Rogers called out, "look at this energy pattern." Linda rushed to his station. On the screen was a detailed scan of a Zarkax shield during an attack. There was something odd about the way the energy flowed. "Run it again," she ordered, her mind racing. "Slow it down to 1/10 speed." As they watched the slowed-down recording, Linda's eyes widened. "There. See that fluctuation? They're shields. They're not constant. They pulse, like a heartbeat." Back at New Eden, the first Zarkax ships appeared in the orange Martian sky. They were bigger up close, their purple hulls gleaming in the sunlight. Chris watched as they took up attack positions above the colony. "Sir," Amy called out, "they're broadcasting a message." The main screen lit up with the now familiar sight of the Zarkax commander, its 4 pairs of eyes blinking in sequence. "Human colony," the alien spoke through its translator. "Your species has failed to surrender as ordered. You will now witness the price of defiance. After we destroy this colony, perhaps your leaders will make a wiser choice." The transmission cut off. Chris looked at his crew, seeing determination replace fear on their faces. "All civilians are in the shelters," Greg reported. "The underground bunkers can withstand anything short of a planet cracker." "Let's hope it doesn't come to that," Chris replied. He opened a channel to all colony speakers. "This is Captain Wright. All personnel, battle stations. This is not a drill. I repeat, this is not a drill." At Luna Base, Linda's discovery was causing excitement. She rushed into Admiral Nash's command center, barely remembering to salute. "Admiral, we found it," she exclaimed. "The Zarkax shields have a weakness. They pulse at regular intervals. There's a fraction of a second where they're weaker. If we time our shots just right." Nash's eyes lit up. "Can you get this information to the Dreadnoughts?" "Already done, sir. I sent the shield frequency data to Chief Engineer Morris. They'll need to modify their weapons, but..." She was interrupted by alarms blaring throughout the base. On the main screen, they could see the Zarkax ships beginning their attack on New Eden. The alien vessels fired their green energy beams at the colony's outer domes. But instead of the instant destruction they had dealt to the Horizon Station, Their weapons seemed to be taking longer to work. "They're toying with us," Nash growled. "They want Earth to watch as they slowly destroy our biggest colony." At New Eden, Chris and his crew watched helplessly as the outer domes began to crack under the Zarkak's attack. But the aliens' slow approach had given them exactly what they needed: time. "Captain," Amy shouted excitedly, multiple contacts appearing from behind Phobos. "Sir, it's them." Chris rushed to the window just in time to see 5 massive shapes emerge from behind Mars's largest moon. Even at this distance, they were incredible to behold. 5 kilometers of humanity's most advanced technology, their hulls gleaming silver in the sunlight. The Dreadnoughts had arrived. On the bridge of the U.S. Nemesis, 20 neural-linked crew members acted as one. Their combined consciousness reached out through the ship's systems, feeling every weapon, every engine, every piece of armor as if it were part of their own body. "This is Nemesis Actual to all Dreadnought units," their unified voice transmitted. "Target lock acquired. Implementing Dr. Martinez's shield frequency data. Weapons synchronized to Zarkak's shield pulse rate. All ships prepare to fire." The Zarkak ships stopped their attack on New Eden as they detected the new arrivals. For a moment, there was absolute silence across all channels. Then the alien commander's face appeared on everyone's screens again. But this time, all 4 pairs of eyes were wide with what looked like shock. "Impossible," the Zarkak's leader said. "Your species cannot have ships of that size. Your scans showed what we wanted them to show." Admiral Nash's voice cut in. "You came to our home. You destroyed our research station. You threatened our people. Now you get to see what humanity is really capable of." The 5 Dreadnoughts moved into attack formation, their massive forms casting shadows over the Martian surface. Each ship was larger than all 3 Zarkak's vessels combined. At Luna Base, Linda watched her screens intently. The Zarkak shields are powering up. "There. That's the pulse pattern. If the Dreadnoughts fire now." As if hearing her words, all 5 human ships opened fire at once. Their weapons were perfectly timed to hit during the millisecond when the Zarkak shields were at their weakest. The result was beyond even their hopes. The alien ship shields collapsed instantly under the synchronized barrage. Before the Zarkaks could recover, a second volley of shots struck their now unprotected hulls. 2 of the alien ships simply ceased to exist, turned to vapor by the Dreadnought's weapons. The third managed to turn around, attempting to flee. It didn't get far. As the last Zarkak ship disappeared in a flash of light, cheers erupted throughout New Eden colony. Chris looked at his crew, seeing tears of joy and relief on their faces. But this was just the beginning. They all knew the Zarkaks would send more ships once they learned what had happened here. Many more ships. The real war was about to begin. But now, at least, the aliens knew the truth. Humanity wasn't helpless. Humanity wasn't primitive. And humanity was ready to fight. Lieutenant Frank Morrison watched from his weapons station aboard the U.S. Nemesis as the largest Zarkak's fleet yet emerged from faster-than-light travel near Alpha Centauri. 30 warships, each one bigger than the ones they'd faced at Mars. The neural link hummed in his mind, connecting him to the other 19 crew members and to the massive ship itself. Through their shared consciousness, he could feel the weapon systems charging, ready to fire. Multiple enemy contacts, the unified voice of Nemesis Actual reported. They're moving to surround the colony. Alpha Centauri was humanity's second-largest colony after New Eden. Over 20,000 people lived there, and they only had minutes to get to their shelters before the battle began. Captain Diana Wells coordinated the colony's defenses from her underground command center. "All civilians are secure," she reported to the fleet. "Give them hell." The Zarkaks didn't bother with demands for surrender this time. They had learned from their defeat at Mars that humans wouldn't give up. Their ships moved into attack formation immediately. "They've modified their shields," Frank noticed through the neural link. The shared knowledge of 20 minds analyzed the sensor data faster than any single person could. They're trying to prevent us from exploiting the weakness we found. Admiral Nash's voice came through the command channel from his position on the U.S. Valkyrie. Then we'll have to show them our other tricks. All ships, execute Battle Plan Thunder. Through the neural link, Frank felt the Nemesis's massive engines power up. The 5 dreadnoughts began to move in perfect synchronization, their formations shifting like dancers in a deadly ballet. The Zarkax opened fire first. Their green energy beams lanced out toward the human ships, but the dreadnoughts were already moving. What looked like clumsy, enormous ships were actually incredibly agile when guided by neural-linked crews. Weapons hot, Frank thought. Slash spoke through the link. Around him, the other crew members added their own consciousness to the targeting solutions. New weapons ready to deploy. The Nemesis's main guns opened up, not with the standard energy weapons the Zarkax were expecting, but with something new. Something Dr. Martinez and her team had developed after studying the destroyed alien ships. Balls of what looked like liquid lightning shot out from the dreadnought's weapon ports. The Zarkax ships tried to dodge, but the new weapons followed them, attracted to their energy shields like moths to flame. When the lightning balls hit the alien shields, they didn't try to break through. Instead, they spread out across the shield surface, creating a web of energy that disrupted the shield's normal pulse pattern. Shield disruptors functioning as designed, Frank reported through the link. Moving to Phase 2. The U.S. Thunder, smallest but fastest of the dreadnoughts, suddenly accelerated to impossible speed. Its neural-linked crew pushed the engines beyond what any normal human crew could handle, diving straight between 2 Zarkax cruisers. As it passed between them, the Thunder released clouds of tiny robots, another new weapon. The microscopic machines attacked the alien ship's hull plating, eating through the metal like acid through paper. The Zarkax ships began to break formation, clearly shocked by the new weapons they were facing. But humanity's surprises weren't over yet. U.S. Liberty, you are clear to deploy, Nash ordered. The Liberty, which the Zarkax had probably assumed was a support ship, suddenly split open along its length. Inside were thousands of fighter drones, each one piloted by an artificial intelligence programmed with every space combat lesson humanity had learned over the past century. The drones swarmed out like angry bees, overwhelming the Zarkax point defense systems with their sheer numbers. While not powerful enough to destroy the alien ships on their own, they created chaos and confusion in the enemy fleet. Through the neural link, Frank could feel the battle flowing like a river of information. He knew exactly where every ship was, could predict where they would move next. The other crew members added their own insights, creating a perfect battle awareness that no single mind could achieve. Their formation is breaking, Diana reported from the colony. They didn't expect this level of coordination. She was right. The Zarkax fought as individual ships, each commander making their own decisions. But the human dreadnoughts fought as one unit, 5 ships moving like the fingers of a single hand, guided by their neural-linked crews. Time to show them our main event, Nash ordered. All ships, prepare Nova Protocol. Frank felt his heart race as the Nemesis's most powerful weapons began to charge. Through the neural link, he could feel the other crew members' excitement and concern. They had never used these weapons outside of testing. The 5 dreadnoughts moved into a pentagonal formation, their weapons aligned toward the center point of the Zarkax fleet. Energy began to flow between the human ships, creating a web of power that made the local space itself start to warp. Nova Protocol ready. All 5 neural-linked crews reported as one. Fire. 5 beams of pure white energy shot out from the dreadnoughts, meeting at a single point in space. For a moment, nothing seemed to happen. Then, the space between the fleets literally cracked. A hole in reality itself opened up, sucking in 8 Zarkax ships before they could even try to escape. The hole closed as quickly as it had appeared, leaving nothing behind but empty space where the alien vessels had been. The remaining Zarkax ships started to retreat, their formations completely broken. But they had learned their lesson too late. "All weapons, free fire," Nash ordered. "Don't let them escape to warn their fleet." The next few minutes were a symphony of destruction. Lightning balls disrupted shields, drones overwhelmed defenses, and the Dreadnoughts' main guns finished off the helpless ships. When it was over, the space around Alpha Centauri was filled with floating debris, all that remained of 30 Zarkax warships. "Status report," Nash demanded. "All Dreadnoughts fully functional," Frank reported through the neural link. "Minor damage to outer hull plating on U.S. Thunder. No casualties. Colony is secure," Diana added from her bunker. "No civilian casualties. The shelter's held." Through the neural link, Frank could feel his fellow crew members' mixture of pride, relief, and sadness. They had just won an impossible victory, but they had also killed thousands of alien crews. Even if it was necessary, that knowledge would weigh on them. "Well done, all ships," Nash said quietly. "But don't celebrate yet. This was just their scouting force. Their main fleet will come soon, and it will be much, much bigger." Frank looked out at the debris field that had been the Zarkax fleet. They had won this battle through surprise and new technology. But the aliens would adapt. They would learn. The next battle would be even harder. But that was okay. Humanity had more surprises waiting. The Zarkax thought they had seen everything now, but they were wrong. They were so very wrong. Admiral Robert Nash stood on the bridge of the U.S. Valkyrie as the 5 human dreadnoughts pushed deeper into Zarkax space. Their massive ships had been fighting nonstop for 2 weeks, liberating enslaved alien worlds one by one. Another distress signal coming in. Lieutenant Sandra Kelly reported from her neural link monitoring station. "It's from a planet called Nexus Prime. The Zarkax are using it as a slave labor camp." Nash's jaw tightened. Every world they found was worse than the last. The Zarkax didn't just conquer. They enslaved entire species, forcing them to work in horrible conditions. "How many ships defending the planet?" he asked. 25 warships in orbit," Sandra replied. "And they've set up orbital defense platforms. They're expecting us." Of course they were. News of the human dreadnoughts had spread quickly through Zarkax space. Every victory made the enemy more desperate, more prepared for the next fight. Aboard the U.S. Nemesis, Chief Engineer Peter Morris worked frantically to upgrade their weapons. The neural-linked crew fed him data through their shared consciousness, helping him make adjustments even as they flew toward their next battle. "The Zarkax have modified their shields again," he muttered, his fingers flying over control panels. "But that just means we need to hit them harder." The new weapon he was building would do exactly that. It wasn't elegant or clever like their previous innovations. Sometimes pure power was the answer. "All ships, battle stations," Nash's voice echoed through the fleet. "We hit them in 5 minutes. Remember, civilian safety is priority 1. Those slaves down there are counting on us." The 5 dreadnoughts dropped out of faster-than-light travel right in the middle of the Zarkax defense fleet. It was a crazy move, something the aliens never expected because no other species would dare try it. But human ships had special shields designed just for this tactic. They could handle the stress of appearing inside an enemy formation. "Now," Nash ordered. All 5 dreadnoughts fired at once. Not their main guns. Those might hit the planet. Instead, thousands of small pods shot out from their hulls in all directions. The Zarkax ships tried to shoot down the pods, but there were too many. When the pods got close to enemy ships, they burst open. Inside each one was a cloud of special metal dust that Peter had created. The dust stuck to the Zarkax ships' hulls. At first, nothing seemed to happen. Then Peter pressed a button on his console. Every dust particle became a tiny magnet, all pulling in different directions. The Zarkax ships' hull plates began to tear themselves apart. "Their shields don't stop physical objects that are already touching their hulls," Peter explained with a grim smile. "They never thought anyone would think to use something so simple." 5 Zarkak ships fell apart before they could even fire back. The rest began to retreat, trying to get away from the dust clouds. But the Dreadnoughts weren't finished. Their neural-linked crews worked as one, herding the enemy ships away from the planet like shepherds guiding a flock. U.S. Thunder, you have permission to test the new main gun, Nash ordered. The smallest dreadnought turned its bow toward a cluster of retreating Zarkak ships. Its main weapon barrel began to glow with a light so bright it hurt to look at. When it fired, it wasn't an energy beam or a projectile. It was a stream of artificial black holes, each one smaller than a pinhead. They only lasted for microseconds before evaporating. But that was long enough. 3 more Zarkak ships vanished, torn apart atom by the intense gravity fields. Impressive, Nash said. But we need to end this quickly. Those slaves on the planet are still suffering. The remaining Zarkak ships tried to fight back, but they were panicked now. Their formation was broken, their tactics forgotten. They had never faced an enemy who could match their technology, let alone surpass it. One by one, the alien ships fell. Some were torn apart by magnetic dust. Others were destroyed by black holes. A few tried to surrender, and the Dreadnoughts took them captive. When the space around Nexus Prime was clear, Nash opened a channel to the planet's surface. "Attention, people of Nexus Prime," he broadcast in several languages. "This is Admiral Robert Nash of the Human Defense Fleet. We're here to free you." The response was immediate. Cheers erupted from the planet below as millions of enslaved aliens realized they were finally free. Many of them had been prisoners for generations, never knowing anything but work and punishment. "Landing craft deploying now," Sandra reported. "Medical teams are ready. We're also detecting several other slave species mixed in with the main population." Nash nodded. This was why they had come. Not just to fight the Zarkaks, but to help their victims. The U.S. Liberty, their medical and support ship, moved into low orbit. Its holds were full of food, medicine, and supplies. Everything the freed slaves would need to start rebuilding their lives. "Sir," Sandra called out suddenly, "we're picking up transmissions from other nearby systems. Word of what we've done here is spreading fast. More slave worlds are calling for help." Nash smiled. This was exactly what they had hoped for. The Zarkaks had kept their empire in line through fear, making everyone think resistance was impossible. But now their slaves could see that the empire wasn't invincible. "Send word back to Earth," he ordered. "Tell them to send the second wave of dreadnoughts. 5 ships isn't enough anymore. We need the whole fleet." Peter's voice came through the command channel. "Sir, the neural link crews are getting tired. We've been pushing them hard." "I know," Nash replied. "But we can't stop now. Every hour we wait, more people suffer. Tell the crews to rest when they can, but we push on." He looked at the main screen, where the first human landing craft were touching down on Nexus Prime. Already, freed slaves were running toward them, crying with joy. This was what humanity had built the Dreadnoughts for. Not just to defend Earth, but to fight for everyone who couldn't fight for themselves. The Zarkaks had thought they were the strongest force in this part of the galaxy. They were about to learn that strength wasn't just about weapons or ships. Real strength was about standing up for others, about fighting not just for yourself, but for everyone who needed help. And humanity was just getting started. The purple sun of the Zarkaks' home system cast an eerie light on the gathered human fleet. 20 dreadnoughts now floated in formation, 4 times the number they had started with. Each one was 5 kilometers of humanity's best technology, crewed by neural-linked teams who had become legends across the galaxy. Captain Christopher Wright stood on the bridge of the U.S. Thunder, watching the massive Zarkaks' defense fleet ahead of them. 200 enemy ships guarded their homeworld, the largest fleet ever assembled in their empire's history. "They've gathered everything they have left." Admiral Nash's voice came through the command channel from the U.S. Valkyrie. "This is it. This is their last stand." Through the neural link, Chris could feel his crew's determination. They had fought their way across dozens of star systems to get here. They had freed countless slaves, destroyed hundreds of enemy ships, and shown the galaxy that the Zarkax could be beaten. But the cost had been high. U.S. Liberty, report, Nash ordered. 3 more civilian evacuation ships just jumped to safety. Captain Diana Wells responded from the medical dreadnought. But we've still got thousands of their slaves trapped on the planet's surface. The Zarkax had pulled their remaining slaves back to their homeworld, using them as human shields. They thought this would stop the human fleet from attacking. They were wrong. Dr. Linda Martinez's voice came through next, broadcasting from her new laboratory aboard the U.S. Nemesis. The final version of the shield breaker is ready. But, sir, it's going to take everything we have. All 20 dreadnoughts firing at once. And the neural link crews? Nash asked. Can they handle that kind of strain? There was a pause before Linda answered. They say they can. But it might be too much for them. The human brain isn't meant to channel that much power. Chief Engineer Peter Morris spoke up from his station. We've done everything we can to protect them. But they all know the risks. They're willing to take them. Chris looked at his own neural-linked crew. Through their shared consciousness, he could feel their agreement. They had come too far to stop now. All ships, battle formation, Nash ordered. Remember the plan. The first wave will engage their fleet. The second wave will target their orbital defenses. The third wave will handle the shield breaker. The 20 dreadnoughts split into 3 groups, moving with perfect coordination. In the distance, the Zarkax fleet began to advance. They're broadcasting, Sandra Kelly reported from her communication station. The main screen lit up with the face of the Zarkax Supreme Commander. Unlike the arrogant aliens they had first met, this one looked tired and angry. You have destroyed our empire, the alien leader said. You have turned our slaves against us. You have ruined everything we spent thousands of years building. But we will not surrender. If we die, we will take you with us. The transmission cut off. Immediately, the Zarkax fleet opened fire with everything they had. The space between the fleets filled with energy beams, missiles, and stranger weapons that bent the light around them. But the human dreadnoughts were ready. The first wave of 7 ships met the Zarkax head-on, their advanced shields glowing as they absorbed the enemy fire. They returned fire with their own weapons, magnetic dust clouds, micro-black holes, and balls of lightning that disrupted enemy shields. The second wave swung around the main battle, heading for the orbital defense platforms that surrounded the Zarkax homeworld. These 6 ships had been specially modified for this mission, their weapons designed to take out fixed defenses. That left the final wave. 7 dreadnoughts, including Chris's ship, all carrying Dr. Martinez's latest invention. They would only get one shot at this. First wave reports 50 enemy ships destroyed, Sandra called out. Second wave has taken up 30% of orbital defenses. But the Zarkax weren't finished. Their remaining ships began to move into a new formation, one that the humans had never seen before. Energy spike, Peter shouted. They're linking their ships together somehow, combining their power. A massive beam of purple energy shot out from the combined Zarkax fleet. It struck one of the first wave dreadnoughts dead center. The human ship's shields held for 3 seconds before failing. In the next instant, the proud vessel was simply gone, along with its neural-linked crew. Now, Nash ordered. Third wave, execute final protocol. The 7 remaining dreadnoughts moved into position. Through the neural link, Chris could feel the massive energy building up in their weapons. Dr. Martinez's shield breaker was more powerful than anything they had ever tried before. The strain on the neural-linked crews was immediate and intense. Chris felt like his head was going to explode. Around him, his crew members cried out in pain, but held their positions. Shield breaker at full power, Linda reported, her voice tight with concern. Fire when ready. 7 beams of pure white energy shot out from the dreadnoughts. They met at a single point in space, combining into something new, a weapon powered by the combined consciousness of 7 neural-linked crews. The beam that emerged from their convergence point was like a new sun. It struck the Zarkak's planetary shield and began to drill through. "Hold steady," Nash ordered. "Just a few more seconds." Chris could feel blood running from his nose. The neural link was overwhelming his brain, just as it was doing to every other crew member involved in the shield breaker. But they didn't stop. The Zarkak's shield cracked, then shattered. The combined beam continued down to the planet's surface, striking the exact spot where Linda had detected the shield generator. The explosion was visible from space. Without their planetary shield, the Zarkak's leaders were vulnerable. Their remaining ships tried to maintain formation, but it was too late. "All ships, cease fire," Nash ordered. "Send the message." The message was simple: surrender now or face complete destruction. The humans had proven they could break any defense, defeat any weapon, but they were offering one last chance for peace. For long moments, there was silence. Then, one by one, the Zarkak ships began powering down their weapons. They had won. The price had been high. One dreadnought destroyed, dozens of neural-linked crew members with permanent brain damage from the final attack. But they had done it. The Zarkak's empire was finished. 3 days later, Chris stood with the other survivors at a ceremony on Earth. They were celebrating victory, but also remembering those who had been lost. Admiral Nash stepped up to the podium, looking older than when they had started this war. "Today, we remember our fallen comrades," he said, "but we also celebrate what they helped achieve. The Zarkak's empire is no more. Their slaves are free. Their weapons are destroyed. And humanity has shown that we will not stand by while others suffer." He looked out at the assembled crews. "You have all paid a price for this victory. The neural link left scars on all of you, but you proved something important, that humanity's greatest strength isn't our technology or our weapons. It's our willingness to fight for what's right, no matter the cost." Chris touched the neural link port at the base of his skull. It would never work properly again. The final battle had burned out something in all of them. But he didn't regret it. They had faced an empire that had terrorized the galaxy for thousands of years. They had fought not just for humanity, but for every species that had suffered under Zarkak's rule. And they had won. The Dreadnoughts would remain as guardians now, protecting the peace they had paid so dearly to achieve. And the galaxy would remember that when humanity finally reached the stars, they came not to conquer, but to liberate. That was worth any price.